I'm Stacy, and we are Pilates Before Pickup. Okay, we're so excited. We have our first guest today. We have Emily Couture here with us. And we're so excited to just find out a little bit more about you.
All
So
right.
start off telling us about, like, are you a mom? How old are your kids? What you do for work-ish? And
Yeah.
kind of like just give us a little background.
Okay. I am a mom. I have 2 kids. Graham is 8, Stella's 6. We live in Swampscott. I worked for years in advertising and then actually briefly did like a little bit of a health coaching business right before I got married, and then had kids and was home with kids. And actually, while I was pregnant with Graham, I did my 200-hour yoga teacher training.
Ooh.
So that was kind of like the beginning of teaching for me. Fitness has been like in my life forever since I was,
Okay. All right.
I mean, I was like an athletic kid, played sports, but really started to love working out and fitness probably like late teens. I've been home with the kids and teaching kind of when I can.
Fitness business now.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit more about your...
So it's called Pursuit by Emily. I've done a fair amount of teaching at different studios, different styles. I've taught yoga, I've taught bar. Pursuit now is it's a strength training class. I always kind of explain it as it's based in strength training and then kind of pulls in elements from some Pilates stuff, some bar style stuff, but it's kind of foundation is strength training. It's different every time, always full body. Tends to be on the like higher intensity side, not a lot of stopping. We use like typically medium sized weights, I would say. So, like, typically for a class, I'll use 12-pound weights, anywhere from like 5s to 15s, people are using. Yeah, we always hit total body. It's different every time. Good music. I'm all about the playlists.
We love a vibe.
You need a good playlist. It's cool. So I teach out of Marblehead Fitness Center, which for people that haven't been there is just kind of like more of a gym vibe, not studio at all. Like, it's like turf, old school gym equipment, which we kind of love because it feels very low key.
Yeah.
Like, you don't walk in there and you're like, oh, am I wearing the right outfit?
Right.
Like, it's like super like Luke. I don't know if you guys know Luke, who owns Marblehead Fitness Center. Great guy, but he's just like the most like laid back, like always in a hoodie and sweatpants. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like I've heard from I've heard from people that they like actually kind of dug that it like isn't a studio vibe.
Yeah.
It's like a kind of a change.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I always like to, not have all the fluff around, especially when
Yeah,
when
like,
you take it to bare bones. It's like you get people that are really into you, what you're doing, what you bring to the table, and less about like everything else.
Yeah, it's just like fun.
Yeah.
It's like we laugh a lot. It's super casual, and yeah, it's not like
Now,
my
is it
videos aren't like
primarily...
aesthetically pleasing
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you're just like, yeah, but it's like cool.
Is it primarily women or men are coming to
My class, so the gym is very split.
Right.
My class is primarily
Okay,
women.
cool.
I have had one ride or die guy that his wife is pregnant right now, so he hasn't been with her in a while, but he was like our front row king, just holding it down.
So open to anyone, but obviously
Open to anyone, all ages. Yeah.
all ages.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Shout out to Mookie's. Mookie's, we love you. I left the shop this morning with like 18 coffees and a punch card from 10 years ago. And they look at me every single... Yes. They look at me every single time I bring that punch card in, and they're like,
Do you still have this?
they were like, we haven't seen one of these in a decade. Don't worry, I got my punch card. I want my whole...
I want my free copy.
So today was my free coffee.
Oh my God,
So
amazing.
thanks, Mookie's. Thank you, Mookie's. I love that. All right, so I have a question for you. So obviously you teach your fitness classes, but what does sustainable exercise and fitness or movement look like to you? And, what does your week look like when you're trying to move your body?
So, I mean, kind of my biggest thing when it comes to movement, because there's so many different camps and people have different thoughts, is to really build consistency, you have to find something that you like.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I mean, I think that can mean different things. I don't necessarily think that has to mean like every time you do it, you're like psyched about doing it,
Yeah.
or like you're like, this is all I want to do. This is where I want to be right now. But like, there's an element to it that you connect with beyond just feeling like you have to like check the box of working out. So there's people there that you like. It feels like a social interaction to
Mhm.
see your friends. It's a style of movement that like feels good for you,
Mhm.
and you're not kind of just trying to get through it and be like, ugh, I have to,
Yeah.
you know, like it's a place you choose
Can't
and
Yeah.
be
want to
dreadful.
go to.
Yeah.
It can't be dreadful because no one, like, I think people over index on relying on like motivation and willpower.
Yeah.
And I actually think that like consistency isn't really built on motivation because
Because
no one wakes up motivated
Yeah.
every day. You
Yeah.
just don't. So like you have to find something else that's
That you
going to
look
drive
forward
that
to.
consistency. Yeah. So I'm a big like when I talk to people about what I do, and also just if someone's trying to build more like of a habitual movement practice, is like I have set what I do every day. So that's like I'm kind of a creature of habit
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah.
As in, like,
That's what I want to know. I want to know
yes.
what you
So
do.
like
And
as in
Yeah.
what is
every
yours?
Tuesday, this is what you're doing.
100%. So like I teach 3 classes a week. I do a lot of the class.
Yeah.
So like I treat that as a workout. Twice a week I lift heavy. I train at TD Athletes Edge in Salem,
Ooh.
which is an awesome gym. It's personal training, little different vibe because like you have a coach who writes a program for you. They're not necessarily always there while you're training, but
Mhm.
it's like a tailored program. So every month you progress. I actually started when I came out of my third back surgery, which I don't know.
Oh my
I don't. We've
God.
never. We'll probably.
No,
That's
let's
probably
dive
a
into
good topic.
that.
I want to hit
That's
that.
probably a good topic for
Yeah.
us. But the guy who owns it is actually was the strength and conditioning coach for the Lakers
Oh,
for Kobe
cool.
Bryant. Yeah, so they're just like super smart.
Yeah.
It's just like, and so that's twice a week for me. It's like more traditional, functional,
Yeah.
heavy
Yeah.
You're
lifting.
You know
following
what's
your
funny?
program.
You and I were just talking about this the other day and just being like, when you lift heavy, you want to be with a trainer or someone who
Yeah, you want
really knows their
yeah,
shit because
you want guidance.
injuries with like just
Yeah,
throwing
you
weights
can't just like
around.
throw a barbell over
Yeah.
your head and
Yeah.
like and
So I think
think that
that's,
nothing will ever
yeah,
happen.
I
Yeah,
think that's
for sure.
amazing.
Place for one-on-one training too
Yeah.
in that, because I think about just like a strength class where there's a lot of people, and obviously we all teach something like that. And I do feel the pressure the second that like
Yeah.
one person lifts that weight overhead.
Yeah,
That
like,
isn't.
oh
It's
God.
like the form is so important. So that's
And you
an
can
amazing
only do what you
class.
can do in that setting in a group, right? Like you can coach, you can give cues, but like at some point you have to trust people to like know how to handle their own
Yeah.
body, right? But like my parents are 75 and they go to TD.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Oh, I love
So
that.
it's like they
Functional.
train, yeah, and they
That's great.
train like intense athletes
Yeah.
all the way to like, yeah, my
Is that like an
parents.
hour long type
It's an
of
hour long.
workout?
Yeah. So like you
Nice.
schedule, you book
Yeah.
your appointment. So like I'm there when Mondays at 8 and Wednesdays at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So like it's like in our
You don't have
calendars.
to
Yes.
question it.
You don't question.
Everyone, your husband, every kids, everyone knows where you
We
are.
know
That's
where
your
I'm gonna
time.
be that time.
Yeah.
And then I usually do like a walk, like a 30-minute weighted vest walk outside if I can, but inside right now before I teach.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
So that's
Love
like
that.
my
yeah. I also want
so
to
it's
pick your
like
brain on the weighted
I got
vest.
my like
I got a lot to say about that.
like kind of steady state, lower intensity cardio,
Yeah.
my class, which is a little bit higher intensity, kind
Yeah.
of strength and cardio, and then my more traditional lifting.
And what do rest days look like for you?
They look like resting.
Yeah.
I'm all about like a Sunday where you're just like, no, I'm not like,
Yeah.
I mean, great. Like if you want to move,
Yeah.
but I'm also totally of the camp that like, it's okay to have a lazy
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
where my rings are like, you haven't done anything. And I'm like, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like,
Please.
go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will not be closing.
And
one
I
of these
will
rings.
none of these will be closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
I usually take actually Fridays and Sundays
Yeah.
because I work out a lot and
Yeah.
and I train pretty hard.
Yeah.
So typically Fridays and Sundays are like non-workout
Yeah.
days. Nothing scheduled.
I'm gonna go ad hoc with this with another question to piggyback
Yeah.
what we were just talking about. So you have your consistent workouts and what you have planned for the week. What kind of advice can you give to people who are looking to get into a fitness routine
hmm
so they can set themselves up for success?
Yeah, mean, I think, like I said, I would like if you hate running, like don't pick up running.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like as someone who like kind of weirdly loves exercise, like I don't enjoy running.
Yeah.
There have been times I'm like, just maybe I want to be a runner. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you don't. Doesn't
Yeah.
feel good on your body. You don't enjoy while you're doing it. Like, no. So you don't. So I think, yeah, start experimenting with things and kind of does something, see how it feels in your
Yeah.
body. Do you feel energized from it? Do you feel like you don't, it's not hurting, right?
Mhm.
Like you're not, like it's okay to be sore. We all love being
Right.
sore after a great workout, but like generally speaking, you don't want to leave your workout and then be like limping around
Yeah.
the rest
There's
of
a
the day,
difference.
right? Um, and then I think so finding something that feels enjoyable, maybe that means there are friends involved,
Mhm.
maybe not. Some people love working out in their basement solo
Mhm.
and like great. But yeah, the biggest thing I think is not relying on like waking up and being like, ooh, when can I work out today?
Yeah.
And like it's just part of your day. It's
Yes.
scheduled like any other meeting. Now, for a lot of people, that might mean early mornings. It's hard, but like
Yeah.
maybe you do that 2 or 3 times a week,
Mhm.
and then you add on the weekend.
Yeah.
Um, and also not feeling like a workout doesn't need to be an hour.
Yeah. Agreed.
You know, if you can do, if you know, have your Peloton and you can do a 20-minute ride, like that's great. I
Mhm.
think there don't need to be a lot of, it needs to fit your life.
Yeah.
Your life can't revolve around it.
Yeah.
Um, And yeah, I think I just always encourage people like a lot with class. People are like, oh, Thursdays are usually good for me. And it's kind of just like, then just like Thursdays you go
Yeah.
to class.
Yeah.
Like you
I
don't
was
have to
just
take
gonna
the
say,
thought,
it doesn't
take
have
the
to be
thought out of
7
it.
days a week.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Start
It's
with
like
one day.
I come to class on Thursday. We like actually just started this Thursday move and Maj. It's like now we're playing Mahjong after class. Guys, I'm
We're
obsessed.
We need to
there.
go.
Yes, you have to come. It's such a fun
Wait,
crowd.
wait, wait, wait. I need to know
It's
the structure of this. That sounds so
Yeah.
fun.
we literally go to class and then like all jump in our cars. A few of them are members at Tedesco, and we
Yeah.
like sit in the locker room at Tedesco, which is like super nice,
Yeah.
and play. But like we might rotate to people's houses, but
Oh,
it's like
it's so
super low key,
fun.
super fun. But we end up, it's like our treaty day because we
Yeah.
like hang out until
That's
pick
cute.
up.
I
Oh
love
my
that.
God.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed
Yeah.
with that.
So
That's
that's
our
really
vibe.
fun.
That is our vibe.
I love it.
So I think yeah, just trying to take the day-to-day thinking out of it,
Yeah.
I find helps a lot.
Yeah.
Anything you can do to make it just kind of like a
A routine.
you're there, like your car's driving yourself there because that's
Yeah.
where you go on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not even thinking about it. I love the piece when you said that motivation is it passes. It's like I heard on one podcast it was like motivation's an emotion.
Yeah.
But this is gonna come and go just like happiness, sadness, whatever. It's like it can't be from an emotional standpoint that you're like, I'm gonna exercise today. Like it's just like your body is moving into that. You're just going
the
to the next
routine.
step of your day.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's the routine of your day.
And to be honest, like half the time, at least my motivation for exercising is like what it does for me mentally, right? So like I like I feel an immediate like change in brain chemistry
Yes,
after I
agreed.
exercise. Like it's a real thing. So like some days my motivation is like, oh, I feel really anxious this morning and I don't want to feel like this all day.
Yeah.
So that's also like when you talk about finding things that you enjoy, it can also be things that serve you in
Right.
some additional way.
That's amazing.
That's a really good tip for moms.
Yeah. Take 805.
We're
We're back.
It's a different day.
Welcome back, Emily. Thanks, guys. Because honestly, we had pickup and we all had to go. So
Yeah.
There you go.
Literally. We had to run out.
Pick up before podcast.
That part,
podcast.
that
Yeah,
part.
exactly. We got to finish the story. So let's pick up where we left off and let's just dive right
Let's
in.
dive.
I want to know from you, what are some trends that you think kind of come and go in the fitness world and what has honestly stayed true to you and who you are?
I like this one because people that know me know that I'm kind of like I don't buy into a lot of the fluff. And I do think that like people sometimes don't realize that the wellness industry is an industry, right? Like billions and billions of dollars. So a lot of the trends that for me are just they're trends. They'll come, they'll go. A huge amount of it is marketing and getting you to spend more money. So, I think supplements have a place, but my point of view is sort of, um, if you're doing a reasonably good job eating and getting kind of your main macros, then unless you are deficient in something, a lot of it is just kind of a waste of money, in my opinion. Like, and I think it goes back to, if something works for you, great. You kind of do what works for you. I don't opt to take a lot of supplements. I take creatine. I do like that. Honestly, there's a lot of science behind it and how it can be helpful for beyond just recovery and muscle growth, some of the brain benefits. So I do that. But unless there's something you find in blood work or you're feeling something where you feel deficient, I'm kind of could do without them. Tried and true, I feel like finding movement that works for you, that you can be consistent with. I think there's also this big sort of industry push of like trying to pit one type of movement
Mm.
against another type of movement. I think they all have benefits in different ways. I think, generally speaking, what's always been true is still true, which is that muscle building is hugely important and cardiovascular health is hugely important. So, kind of how you're opting to get those things, I think, do what works for you. To me, it kind of defeats the purpose when people in the industry are kind of like, oh, those weights aren't heavy enough to do anything. You're not, versus trying to say that, like, when you do lift heavy weights, you get bulky. Like, that's not really a thing. So, like, when we talk about like toning or like long lean muscles, is like, that's not a thing.
Right.
Like,
Buzzwords.
yeah, like
Buzzwords.
you build muscle or you
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
right? Like the general shape of your muscles has to do with like your build and your genetics,
Yeah.
and building muscle is a lot harder than we sort of make it out to
Yeah.
be,
Yeah.
I
right?
heard
Like,
also, like, especially for women, right?
absolutely. Like, it's, you have to actively be like really pushing heavy, hard weights a lot of the time to be developing such kind of like visible muscle that you'd be so worried about. Like most of us are not in the category
Yeah.
where like that's just not
Yeah.
happening. It's hard enough to build muscle that you can maintain,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? So, um, I think, yeah, I think it's also important to remember that just because like someone tells you so on the internet, just like anything, like it doesn't make it factual. It doesn't
Mhm.
make it researched by science. So a lot of it, I think you just kind of have to take with a grain of salt. And like I said, like if something works for you, great, stick with it. And if you try it and it doesn't, like chances are you probably don't need to pay an exorbitant amount of money for it.
Yeah.
I think the other big thing that drives me kind of crazy in terms of the wellness and nutrition is just there's a lot of kind of fear mongering that
Mm.
happens, really unnecessarily so. Like, we all know the things like eat more whole foods, like get your fiber and your fats and your carbohydrates and your proteins, less ultra processed food, but like really getting down into the whole like, oh, if this is an ingredient you can't pronounce, you shouldn't eat it type of stuff. A lot of that is just like made up stuff that's someone somewhere is trying to ultimately sell you something. I once saw this thing and it kind of stuck with me, which is that if you like look up the chemical makeup of a banana, like it's all things you can't pronounce.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of foods that to be shelf stable,
Yeah.
they do have things like preservatives or something in them. It's not that they're toxic or bad for you. It's that people do need food to be shelf stable. And
Right.
like
Right.
for some people, the like accessibility of good and healthy foods is way more important
Yeah.
than like you getting a tiny dose of something that you have deemed as like
Right.
toxic, which
Right.
really isn't.
Mhm.
That's a
You
huge
know?
thing too, though, like the accessibility and like spending like thousands of dollars. It's like not everyone
Yeah,
can do that
it's
and
not
have the
realistic
Well,
for the
cleanest
it's
general.
that thing
product.
too. Like after this weekend, I was just away for the whole weekend. It's like you can't always have like a sweet potato bowl with like I'm
Perfectly
sorry.
ready.
Yeah.
Sometimes
It's
I
just
just
like,
need to have like a freaking protein bar, or the alternative is like Lay's chips. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're
So it's
making
like,
the best
be a
choice
little more
you can.
flexible in like the way that you feel so strict about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
just like
not always perfect.
most things are not gonna hurt. Like most things when it comes to like food and that sort of within reason, right,
Yes.
are not gonna hurt you. Like your kids eating sugar or red dye.
Mhm.
Sometimes like the dose makes the poison, like they say, right? Like
Right.
anything at the wrong dose, like water, right?
Yeah.
It can be toxic if you consume way too much of it. Obviously, that's an extreme example, but I think it just goes to show that a- you know what's like the general things to like feed yourself well. Like, those are the general
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
They're not changing,
Right.
you know.
So true.
Before we move on, a
Yeah.
quick question. What is your favorite brand of creatine right now?
Oh, I haven't really done all the experimenting, but I kind
But
of
what's your
I
go-to
take
right now?
the create gummies. I do opt for the gummies because I
Yeah.
feel like another like
Powder.
powder of drinking
Yeah.
sometimes to me feels really overwhelming.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't know why. Just sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to
It's
put
sometimes
anything in
the
my coffee. I
powder
just want to drink my
sweets.
coffee.
Yeah,
I
too
know,
many
Yeah,
it's
carbs.
I
not
just
enjoyable.
yeah. So
Too much
those are
stuff.
fine.
Yeah.
I like the sour apple ones.
Yeah.
But
Cool. I love hearing about
I
this.
mean,
You
they're
take
not
the,
delicious,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
I can
We all choke them
I
down.
can
Yeah,
tolerate.
we're
You're right.
all
I
like,
can tolerate 3 of them a day.
Yeah.
do you take a multi? Just out of curiosity.
I
Yeah.
don't actually take a
Probiotic?
multi. I don't take a
No, you just eat
probiotic.
well and it works. I love
Mostly,
that.
yeah,
Yeah. We both come from like an autoimmune thing.
yeah,
So
right.
that like I have to take a probiotic
Yeah.
or else there'll be
I
some
live
issues.
by probiotics.
I'm so curious about this, and I think it's a two-part question. And
Okay.
we only talked about one part last
Oh.
time, so we're really branching out. But we want to know about your challenges that you've overcome in the fitness journey. And here's my two parts. I want to
Okay.
hear about you physically. We
Yep.
want to get into the backstory because you guys
Yep.
didn't get that, and it was truly iconic. So we need to talk about that.
Okay.
But then I've been thinking about how, as like an instructor and a business owner, like the challenges that you've kind of like
Sure.
in that aspect.
Totally. Okay. Yeah. So I think, I mean, a lot of people that know me know about this, but that I would say my back injury and undergoing surgeries was probably the most significant sort of setback when it comes to, yeah, fitness. It was kind of just like a really unfortunate luck, I guess you could say. But I do think so. I herniated a disc when I was teaching several years ago. Um, as you know, Stacey, it's like can be very incapacitating. I mean, I was in bed for 2 weeks.
Debilitating.
There was no nothing. There
Yeah.
was no moving. There was no showering myself. There was no anything.
And at this point, you had your oldest, or you had both?
I had
kids?
both. Stella was like 18 months. So I couldn't pick her up. Yeah, Graham
the
was,
worst.
And it's
2 and a
life-changing.
half,
That is
3. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I think back, it's like a little bit of COVID when you like black it out. You're like, I don't even know what I did or how I did it. So over the course of 6 months, it was kind of like doctors, MRIs, shots, steroids, kind of seeing, they really do want surgery to be a last resort. And so I did end up having surgery. It's like is a very routine sort of thing. They scrape out the herniated disc, they send you home that day. Great. It didn't go as well for me because by the next day I was like back in excruciating pain and they were like, this isn't right. So I went back in for
Like the
another
same
MRI.
pain, not like
The same,
surgical pain,
not
the
like
same
surgical pain. Yeah, like the same pain, which was like nerve pain,
Mhm.
which is that like you
Ouch. Yeah.
can't breathe.
Oh, you know it when you know
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Went back another MRI and they were like, there's something on there. The best thing we can do is really like go back in. So just like stay in the ER, wait to go in for surgery. They performed the surgery again. Essentially, like a piece of the disc had broken off and was just like sitting on my nerve. So they were like, it's just really bad luck.
Insane.
Yeah.
It's just really bad luck. But like we went in there, we cleaned it out. I spent a couple days in the hospital just like to make sure everything was good. And at that point, it was like, so then I started recovering and it was finally like I wasn't feeling that same kind of pain. And I was like, okay, maybe we're like in the clear. And then one day, I think it was like 2 weeks later, I just like went to get out of bed and just like felt it go down my leg. And I just knew that it was bad. So again, I got an MRI. They were like, listen, we can keep trying this, but like this is probably going to keep happening. What you really need is a spinal fusion. So that's ultimately what I ended up getting, which was so they removed the disc and they put in like a fake disc essentially to
So
create that
wild.
space and then like screw it in. Um, the surgery was tough. I had a tough recovery. I needed a blood transfusion. My blood pressure was very low, but honestly, it fixed everything.
That's
So,
amazing.
knock on wood, we're very
Yeah.
lucky. But it is really hard when you come from a place of movement being a huge part of your life, your teaching is part of your job. Um, to be incapacitated like that is really rough. I think there were definitely times where I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to go back.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
I mean, I remember like 2 months out walking around the block and feeling like I was going to faint.
Oh,
You know what I mean? And just being like, there's
2
no
months.
way I'm
yeah.
going to be able to do what I used to do. But here we are.
Yeah.
I think if
Was there a point where you were like, we've hit a turning point? I'm going to be good?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can recall?
I think so. I think I started training again, which I told you guys I go to TD, Athlete's Edge. Very kind of easy. About 3 months out, I was able to start training. And I think once I started moving again, I was like, it's going to take a minute, but I'm not in pain.
Yeah.
And I can kind of like, I had a good baseline to kind of rebuild that strength. Um,
The way that it was repeating too, you probably had like a fear. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I had a
It's like
lot of
PTSD.
Yeah,
anxiety. It
literally.
is it
Serious
is a little
PTSD.
PTSD. I was like for a little bit I was afraid to be alone with the kids because I was
Oh my
kind of like,
God. Yeah.
Oh,
God
no.
forbid you like
Something
something
happens.
happens and
Yeah.
I like have to do something that
someone
I
else, yeah.
can't. But all good. I have absolute total range of motion and no
Wow.
pain. Um
Has it changed the way that you train now?
I think it for me definitely reinforced the importance of the strength piece. I did like pretty intense yoga for years and I am hypermobile. So for me, that kind of like flexibility piece was always more natural. And I think I didn't totally understand that you really have to have the balance of the flexibility and the strength to kind of stay in a healthy
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, years of that hot yoga where you're kind of like pushing. It's not that you don't use strength, you do, but also if you're not practicing in the right way,
Yeah.
using enough strength, I think that probably did some damage. It
Definitely. Yeah.
probably there were things that were already there, and pregnancy can exacerbate that. But I think for me, it really reinforced the importance of the strength training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the business side of it, talk to us about some challenges that you face just as a business owner and an instructor.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard. You guys know it's one of those things where it ebbs and flows, right? People showing up to class. I like it.
Yeah.
So I'm teaching what I like and what makes me feel good, and then other people are teaching other things. Like there's plenty for everyone.
Exactly.
I don't necessarily think you need to be everything to everyone. It's kind of like you can't do everything
Yeah. I
well.
love that.
Yeah.
Um
That's like the biggest life lesson. I had a
right.
conversation with my boss probably a few years ago about this as like the business that I do full time started to grow. And you're gonna get people in life that like you're not their cup of tea and you don't have to be everyone's cup of tea. And
Yeah.
that's normal. And
And that's
accepting that
fine.
is like
Yeah.
so big and
Yeah.
like only helps you and helps you grow and become more confident.
And I think being in this industry, it's kind of like the best you can do is be there for people when they're ready, they show up, and then like if it's not for them, you encourage them to find other things that
Yeah.
are for
Right.
them.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not this or nothing.
Yeah. Also think that is really respectable to say. It's like when someone comes into your class, like that's cool that you can suggest, have you tried this class from another studio?
Yeah,
Like,
that's a hard thing for a business owner. So
yeah,
I think
It
that's
is.
it's the
pretty
It is.
coolest
And
like
I'll
thing.
joke
iconic.
about it,
Yeah.
like we'll
Of
joke
course.
about it all the time. I'm like,
You're so good at
who's
not
at
taking
who's
things
at
personally.
B-Tone
Yeah,
tomorrow?
yeah.
Like, but also like I teach 3 classes a week and that's it.
Right.
I
So
can't
people need
expect people's whole fitness routine to revolve around the
Yeah.
3 classes that I
and
teach.
nor would you want to. You have these little kids at home. You have this full life. This is just one thing that you do.
One
It's
piece of the
not all
pie.
of you.
Yeah, and that goes back to like I think I mentioned last time, like for when I first started, especially people were like, "Let's find you a space. When are you going to open your own studio?" and all of this, and it's kind of just felt like I don't. That's not what I want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't really want to be a studio owner slash manager. I just want to like teach the class that I
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
when I can, how I can. And so for at least for now, like you never say never, but
Yeah.
that's kind of been my philosophy. And yeah, when you teach 3 classes a week, at the times I teach, there's a lot of people who can't come.
Yeah.
It is what it
Yeah.
is, you
This
know?
fills your cup, and
Yeah,
that's
totally.
freaking awesome.
Yeah, that
Totally.
is awesome. I swear I'm going to come back to this episode because sometimes I'll struggle with like imposter syndrome. For example,
Oh.
like in the summer when the college girls comes home, there's like 30 kids in our class that are like so, prepubescent.
Yeah, they're
Fire
in
outfits,
college,
their moms got
yeah.
them like Aritzia matching sets, and like
Yeah.
you're at the front of the room and you're like, all right, girls, let's
Let's
do
go.
this. Do you know
It's
what I
like,
mean? So like
yes.
there's something to be said for just like being exactly who you are
Yeah.
in your teaching and letting your personality shine and letting the people that
Yeah.
find you find
It's
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's
And
cool.
college girls, we fucking love when you
Yeah.
come to our classes. So don't take that personally, but when you guys all look so cute in your little matching sets, just know that I'm panicked, okay?
Panicked with
Panicked.
our dark circles.
Oh
under
my
our
gosh. And
eyes.
like my dark circles, like my under boob sweat. You know what I mean? Like you guys don't have under boob sweat. So just know where I'm coming
They
from.
sit
We
up
love you.
higher. They don't. They
Everything's
sit up
perkier,
higher.
and they're
Yeah.
like they're like have their little spray tans on, and everything's
cute.
gorgeous,
They're
and
so cute.
it makes us have a different energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
different vibe.
Yeah.
And but you know what I do love about like when you just go in and you're just working out hard is kind of like an equalizer in that like you stop noticing everyone's outfit when you're just like
1000%.
let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Like
No one's
I'm
looking at
fighting for
anyone.
my life right now
Yeah.
and like no one cares about what I
It
wore
is
anymore.
so true. And even the girls, like by the end of August, like right when they're going back to school, if they're taking 5 days a week. It's like we're coming in like shorts at this point. Like we don't even know what we're wearing.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
like want to get into it and get sweaty.
Can't wait.
They're
Thank
coming
you
for ya.
so much, Emily.
Thank you,
We
guys.
are so happy you came. You were our first guest. It was like everything and more.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Let's talk about like the recovery days and how you incorporate into your week as your routine.
Big fan of rest days. Everyone needs them. You know, I work out a lot and I work out pretty hard most of the time. And listen, I'm not saying that's right or best. But my body definitely needs recovery days. So I typically do 2 a week. So generally my week, everything is scheduled and decided. Like it's never like, oh, it's Tuesday. Should I work out? What am I going to
Yeah.
do today? Like I don't do that. It's just much easier for me to have a schedule. So Mondays and Wednesdays are 2 days that I train, like do personal training, more traditional heavy lifting. So that's like an hour. Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I teach. Usually, I mean, always, I pretty much do the class as well. And then I probably do about 3 like just low intensity cardio sessions, mostly walking, weighted vest walking, sometimes bike, um, for like 30 to 40 minutes. That's my week. Usually Fridays and Sundays end up, I don't have any workout scheduled. So if I get a walk in, great, but it's not prioritized. And I do think it's important to like not just push to have an extra day.